When the world said goodbye to Donald Sutherland, millions remembered the towering actor whose unforgettable performances filled cinema screens for over half a century. Tributes poured in from fellow actors, directors, and fans celebrating a man who brought quiet dignity, terrifying mystery, or profound warmth to every role. To the public, he was one of the last true legends of classic Hollywood. Yet behind that extraordinary career was a far more intimate story, one never measured by awards or box office numbers. Away from red carpets, Donald spent decades searching for something far simpler, a place where he truly belonged. It was a search that led him through moments of great joy, painful disappointment, and 3 major relationships that shaped his life. There was a young marriage that faded as his stardom took flight, an intense romance with Jane Fonda that captivated Hollywood, and finally, the woman who stood quietly beside him for more than 50 years. This is not just the story of a celebrated actor's career. It is the journey of a man who slowly discovered that the deepest love is not the one that begins with the loudest applause, but the one that remains when the curtain finally falls. Long before audiences recognized his unmistakable baritone voice and commanding 6'4" presence, Donald Sutherland was a quiet boy growing up in St. John, New Brunswick, on Canada's Atlantic coast. Nothing about his early years suggested future stardom. As a child, Donald faced severe health challenges, battling polio, rheumatic fever, and hepatitis. Those long, difficult months away from childhood games taught him patience and resilience early on. His working-class family valued education over glamorous dreams. Choosing a career in the arts offered no guarantees, and Hollywood felt unimaginably distant. At the University of Toronto, Donald initially studied engineering before realizing his heart lay in storytelling. Choosing the arts was a terrifying gamble, but Donald knew that ignoring his passion would be far harder. His determination carried him across the Atlantic to study at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. Surrounded by gifted performers, competition was fierce, and rejection became a familiar companion. Directors struggled to place him, his unusual features and tall frame did not fit traditional leading man standards. More than once, he was told his looks would hold him back. Refusing to yield, Donald accepted small TV roles, stage work, and whatever came his way. Slowly, casting directors noticed something photographs could never capture: his magnetic presence. When Donald entered a scene, audiences paid attention. As his career gathered momentum, the struggling Canadian actor became a rising star. But while his professional life flourished, his personal life was becoming far more complicated. During his early years in London, Donald married Lois Hardwick. Both were young, full of optimism, and trying to build a future on unpredictable acting gigs. They welcomed twins, Rachel and Kiefer. Donald embraced fatherhood, but balancing family life with a burgeoning film career proved extraordinarily difficult. Each new role meant weeks or months away from home. As demands on his time grew, the long separations placed immense strain on their marriage. Without dramatic public battles or bitterness, the marriage quietly came to an end after several years. For Donald, the experience was deeply painful. He had achieved his professional breakthrough, but success had not protected him from heartbreak. He learned early that fame could open doors, but it could also create distances that were difficult to mend. As the late 1960s arrived, Donald's career accelerated rapidly. Directors recognized his vast versatility, leading to major roles in classic films like The Dirty Dozen and MASH. Then, while filming the acclaimed 1971 thriller Klute, he met a woman whose intelligence, passion, and fierce activism matched his own, Jane Fonda. What began as professional admiration quickly blossomed into one of Hollywood's most talked-about romances. Their natural on-screen chemistry spilled over into real life. Unlike typical celebrity couples focused on premieres, Donald and Jane spent nights discussing politics, literature, and social reform. Deeply opposed to the Vietnam War, they launched the anti-war FTA tour, performing for military service members overseas. Traveling through Asia, sharing modest accommodations, and standing up for mutual convictions bound them deeply. Yet, relationships forged in high-intensity moments often struggle under everyday pressures. As both pursued demanding careers, new film projects pulled them in different directions. Constant public spotlight left almost no room for privacy. Over time, personality differences emerged. Donald was reflective and introverted, while Jane possessed a restless, outward energy. Eventually, they chose separate paths. Though the breakup disappointed fans, their bond had been genuine. Decades later, Jane Fonda spoke warmly of Donald as one of the most intelligent and compassionate men she had ever known. Donald kept those memories private, treating their relationship as a meaningful chapter that left a lasting mark without becoming a lasting marriage. For many observers, Jane Fonda seemed to be the great romance of Donald Sutherland's life. But life had a quiet surprise waiting for him. The woman who would become his true life partner did not enter his world amid flashing cameras. She brought something Donald had been searching for all along. Peace. In the early 1970s, Donald met Canadian actress Francine Rossett. Francine was an accomplished performer in her own right, deeply respected for her talent and quiet professionalism. Unlike many in Hollywood, she had zero interest in celebrity culture. Friends described her as grounded, fiercely intelligent, and deeply private. There was no public spectacle or magazine drama. Instead, they quietly built a relationship away from gossip columns. They married in 1972, just as Donald was entering one of the busiest periods of his career. Films like Don't Look Now, Ordinary People, and JFK solidified his reputation as one of the finest character actors in cinema. While work remained important, Donald became protective of his home life with Francine. They welcomed 3 sons: Reg, Rossif, and Angus. Home became the sanctuary Donald returned to after intense film shoots. Rather than competing for attention, Francine and Donald supported one another through every season of life. Francine understood the long hours and uncertainty of the industry, offering a steady anchor that allowed Donald to excel on screen. Over 5 decades, they became known as one of the entertainment world's most private and enduring couples. Interviews about their marriage were extremely rare, and public appearances were kept modest. In an industry where relationships are often treated as public property, Donald and Francine fiercely guarded what mattered most. As Donald grew older, his priorities shifted entirely toward his family. While awards were appreciated, none of them compared to the life he had built alongside Francine. Watching his children grow into successful individuals brought him immense pride. Kiefer Sutherland carved out an iconic acting career of his own, while his younger sons also embraced creative fields. Rather than competing with them, Donald celebrated their every milestone. Eventually, grandchildren entered the picture. The actor who had once traveled constantly for work found his greatest joy in simple, unscripted moments, family dinners, holidays, and quiet evenings at home. What made his marriage to Francine remarkable was not the absence of trials, but their unwavering commitment to face every hardship together. Through career shifts, aging, and changing health, they remained dedicated partners. When Donald portrayed President Snow in The Hunger Games, introducing himself to a whole new generation of fans, Francine was right beside him, just as she had been for decades. Donald Sutherland spent over 60 years bringing iconic characters to life. Yet the story that truly defined him unfolded far from the movie sets. His romance with Jane Fonda was passionate, historical, and deeply transformative, proving that some loves change your life forever. But his 5-decade marriage to Francine Rossett proved something even deeper. Sometimes the love that stays becomes the one that truly matters most. Sutherland lived out a profound truth that success can earn admiration, and talent can win respect, but enduring love is what gives a life its true meaning.